be open to surprise in many of the stories of Jesus that I have heard time and again since I was a small child. It's difficult for me, especially in these stories where there's a clear moral imperative, like there's a good guy and a bad guy. So from early on, I learned to identify who the bad guy was in the story, and then endeavor to do whatever I could not to be labeled as such. And of course, who is the good guy, and then to seek that persona. I don't want to be the bad guy. So clearly I'm not the Pharisee. I want to be the good guy. I must be the justified tax collector. It may be for some of you as it is for me like pulling teeth, to be asked to open up our hearts and find our self-satisfied inner Pharisee. But if you would close your eyes with me for just a minute, if you feel comfortable with the closed eyes, and imagine that Pharisee. He is like you. Because he's basically a good person. So think for a minute about all the good deeds that you have done in the past week. Let them flow through your memory. Do all these good deeds really help you feel grounded in this world of swirling chaos? And then think about the ways that you followed the rules this week. I know you do. Coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, paying your bills on time, raking your front yard. These laws and rules can help us feel safe in a scary, uncertain world. Think about even how you made your choice or series of choices to get here this morning. Do these walls, hallowed by prayers of over 50 years, help you feel defended? When you share the peace, does it remind you how deeply you are loved? When you receive communion, is that an opportunity for you to make a fresh start for another week? So coming back into this room, we are indeed at base like the Pharisee. I wonder how many ways that we are seeking clarity, identity, and certainty in a muddled and confusing and uncertain world, just like that Pharisee was attempting to do. And like that Pharisee, might we find it just so easy to move from searching for ourselves for clarity, identity, or certainty for our own selves and slip into finding it by stepping on the backs of others whom we deem lack it. In church, many of us enter this building each Sunday, engage in this community, and pray together in common worship because we are seeking some clarity, a sense of who we are, some rock to hold on to in a muddled and confusing and uncertain world. And in the church, we are offered these gifts: clarity of purpose, baptismal identity, and certainty of God's redeeming love. Clarity, identity, certainty, they come freely to each one of us from the unchanging rock that is our loving God. They don't come to us because we did something right, or we are something right, or any way that we are measuring up better than brothers and sisters and siblings in other corners of the people of God. But it is so easy to move to that defended, judgy place where we see the Pharisee. I am thankful, if we were the Pharisee, we might say, I'm thankful that I am a registered Republican patriot, unlike those crazy wokers over there. Or perhaps I could stand and say the exact opposite and still feel like a judging Pharisee. Or perhaps, I am thankful that through all the wise decisions that I have made, I have accumulated enough wealth to warm my heart and my home, unlike those morally corrupt people over there who decide to throw everything away for drugs, alcohol, gambling, or pornography. Or we could stand and state exactly the opposite in a similar judging tone. The high horse. It is so easy to get up on, and the view looks so good from up there. But it is a foolish view. Because we know the sinful one, the swindler, the outsider, the other, the one who is not good like us, is the one that goes home judged, justified. We seek to make church a sanctuary for ourselves in troubled waters. And that is good and right and understandable. But the problem comes when we enter the church and then use its walls and its community as a bulwark of righteousness to defend us against the sin we project out onto others out there. It's a relatively short trip from seeking solace and reassurance to building a wall of judgment that keeps others down and out. Now, despite the fact that the Apostle Paul is one who is known for a strong inner ego, I want to suggest this morning that Paul is actually a great model on how to make balance in this. Balance between seeking solace in God while not acquiring our clarity, identity, and certainty by throwing others under the bus. Paul's faith in God's love and saving power were so strong that he could let go of any earthly defenses or judging encumbrances. As for him, he writes in this letter to 2 Timothy, his life is being poured out freely as a sacrificial offering. The word libation here refers to the pouring of a glass of wine that had been set in reserve at a dinner party in sacrifice to the gods to be poured out at the end. Paul takes his identity as a beloved and gifted child of God and then pours it out freely for the sake of the world, trusting in God that God will continue to provide spirit after spirit after spirit so that Paul can continue to pour forth this love into the world. And as for him, Paul continues, the time of his departure is at hand. The word that Paul uses for departure has various meanings in the New Testament and in Greek culture. Departure could refer to unyoking an animal from the cart or plow, or it could refer to loosening the fetters of a prisoner to be set free, to untie tent ropes, to lower the tent in preparation of repitching it elsewhere. And Paul the tent maker must have known something about that. Or even to loosen the mooring ropes of a ship so it can begin a voyage to a new land. Perhaps the clarity, identity, and certainty we find in this building, in this community, might be less like the Pharisee and more like that of the Apostle Paul. The power of God is such that we can continually pour out our lives freely as a libation, making ready through that pouring out for the time of our next departure. That is, for the ways that God is working in us to set us free for the next thing that God has in store. Unlike that self-righteous Pharisee, Christians are called to constantly pour themselves out in love for the sake of the world, constantly being ready for the moment that they are called to let go, a readiness that we need to renew breath by breath for whatever God has in store, be it the next day or the next life. We might all be a little bit more like that self-righteous Pharisee than we would like to think. The defense building that is self-righteousness, it is such a powerful temptation. So the next time you experience that temptation, and if you are like me, you will experience that temptation at least daily. So the next time that you have that kind of temptation to secure your identity by stepping on the spirit of another, invite yourself instead to consider pouring forth the Holy Spirit of love for the sake of the world. The next time you are tempted to secure your identity by stepping on the back of someone else, consider instead opening yourself to the departure for which God